Imagine that you and your spouse have a child. You live in a modest home, in a great neighborhood, in a wonderful school district. Your child comes home one day from school with a mild runny nose and cough. You and your spouse think nothing of it, assuming it is just a cold. The coughing becomes more violent, more persistent, and your child throws up during or after each violent coughing fit. Your child has the last stage of whooping cough and is highly contagious. This was a bleak reality for a lot of families before the discovery of vaccines. Fortunately, we live in a world where vaccines that prevent these diseases from taking over and turning fatal exist. In 2010, this scenario was very true for a lot of families in California. Nearly 9,500 infants, adolescents, and teens that had not yet been vaccinated or caught up on their booster shots contracted this virus and caused the death in 10 infants. The vaccinations that are administered to infants and adolescents are vital for their good health. Millions of children are vaccinated each year. Diseases such as polio and smallpox now affect far fewer people thanks in large part to the widespread of vaccinations. Now, before I go any further, let me explain to you exactly what a vaccine is. A vaccine is a substance used to stimulate the production and antibodies and provide immunity against one or several diseases in the body. Simply put, a vaccine is a product given to an individual by injection, by mouth, or by aerosol. This product contains dead or weakened parts of the disease and stimulates your body to produce defenses against this particular disease. One great benefit that vaccinations offer to a community is what is known as herd immunity. Herd immunity is when a large portion of a community is vaccinated against a contagious disease. Most members of the community are protected against that disease because there is little opportunity for an outbreak. Even those who are not eligible for certain vaccines, such as infants, pregnant women, or immune-compromised individuals, still get some protection because the spread of contagious disease is contained. This is why it is vitally important that everyone receives the proper vaccinations at the proper time. Imagine with me another scenario. Your child is outside at the park playing with their friends and they fall down scraping their knee on the playground set. Their friend sneezed in their hand a moment before and is now reaching down to help your child up. Your child has just been potentially exposed to an infectious disease. Some parents feel as though vaccinations are unnecessary or unsafe for their child. They have bought into the myth that vaccines can cause harm to their children. There are three individual, highly contagious and highly deadly diseases that I would like to briefly discuss with you. First, let's talk about the polio disease. Polio is spread from person to person and is a crippling disease. It is caused by a virus that invades and infects the person's brain and spinal cord, causing paralysis. The virus leaves the infected either paralyzed or dead. Second, measles. Measles is the deadliest among all childhood illnesses and is spread through sneezing and coughing. It starts with a fever, a runny nose, a cough, and a sore throat, followed by a rash that covers the entire body and is fatal for young children. Lastly, diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis are three bacteria-based diseases that are treated with the same single vaccine. Diphtheria is spread through coughing and sneezing and causes thick coating on the back of the nose and throat, making breathing shallow and very difficult. Tetanus is a toxin found in soil that enters the body through cuts, scratches, and wounds. Those infected have muscle cramps, lockjaw, and difficulty breathing. Pertussis, also known as whooping cough, is spread through sneezing and coughing as well. As the violent fits of the cough progress, the infected person gasps for air. What do all of these diseases have in common? They all end the same way: pain, suffering, and possibly death. They are all preventable by getting a simple shot, a vaccine that prevents your child from so much unneeded pain and suffering and even possibly death. Although there are a few myths that still have parents not vaccinating their children, and the myth is the relationship that vaccines cause autism. One of these myths states that there is a link between the vaccine measles, mumps, and rubella, MMR, causing autism in children. For those of you who are not familiar with autism, let me fill you in. ASD, known as autism spectrum disorder, is a developmental genetic disability that is caused by differences in how the neurons fire in the brain and the way it functions. Individuals with autism may have behavioral, social, and communication problems. The MMR vaccine is given to children between the ages of 1 and 2. Coincidentally, when MMR is administered to young children at this age, autistic symptoms are sometimes presenting themselves. Most of the controversy and myth is derived from a study in 1998. A British gastroenterologist, Andrew Wakefield, published a paper that claimed to link the MMR vaccine to autism. He described that in his sample of 8 children, all of them showed symptoms of autism 1 month after receiving the vaccine. The evidence Wakefield had has been disproven by many different researchers time and time again. New studies in cases of MMR and autism show absolutely no correlation between each other. In 2009, it was discovered that Wakefield's original recordings and data had been fixed, proving even more that his study was a fraud. Getting vaccinated is a civic duty. Vaccines have done so much good over the past several decades, creating a nation far fewer of contagious diseases than it was a century ago, with far fewer of our fellow citizens dying in pain and fear and far too young. You owe it to your children, but you also owe it to America to vaccinate your children. One parent's decision to not vaccinate their child could be a very costly decision to not only their child, but to others as well. Vaccines work. Do not let your child become sick. The prevention of epidemics and pandemic of deadly illnesses is simple. Get vaccinated.